You're mid-sentence when their eyes glaze over, that moment when you realize the room has already dismissed you, even though you're still talking. Your words are still coming out, but something shifted, the energy changed, and you can feel it, that invisible wall where respect used to be. Think back to the last time someone interrupted you without apology. They didn't even pretend to care what you were saying. The conversation just moved on, swallowed your words whole, and you stood there invisible. You probably told yourself they were rude or busy or distracted. But here's the truth. This isn't about them being rude. It's about specific behaviors that trigger a psychological response in others. A response so automatic they don't even know it's happening. Their brain made a calculation about your value in that social hierarchy, and you drop below the threshold where interrupting you feels wrong. Dr. Albert Mehrabian conducted research at UCLA in 1971 that changed how we understand communication. He found that 55% of communication impact comes from body language, 38% from tone, and only 7% from actual words. Everyone quotes this study to talk about confidence and presence. But there's something deeper here, something about the attitudes we carry that broadcast our status before we even speak. Imagine you're at work. Your colleague walks up to your desk. "Sorry, just one quick thing." 5 minutes later, they approach again. "Sorry to bother you, but..." An hour after that. "Sorry, I know you're busy." By the third sorry, something changed in how you see them. You've already stopped respecting them, and you don't even know why your brain made that decision. That's the first attitude destroying your credibility faster than any actual mistake ever could. Constant apologies signal low status. Not occasional apologies for real mistakes. Those are necessary. But when you apologize for existing, for taking up space, for having needs, you're training people to see you as subordinate. The human brain evolved to recognize dominance hierarchies instantly. When you apologize for things that don't require apology, you're broadcasting submission. Their unconscious mind categorizes you accordingly. Replace "sorry to bother you" with "thank you for your time." Same sentiment, completely different frame. You've shifted from apology to appreciation, from low status to reciprocity. One phrase makes you forgettable. The other makes you someone worth paying attention to. Now, picture someone who always agrees. Every opinion, every idea, every suggestion gets an enthusiastic yes from them. They're so supportive, so positive, so nice. Sounds ideal, right? Except, within 3 interactions, you stop asking their opinion entirely. You stop including them in decisions. You might not even notice when they're absent from conversations, because the human brain has a specific response to people who lack a backbone. A 2019 study from Cornell University showed that people who never express disagreement are perceived as less intelligent and less trustworthy. The brain flags them as either deceptive or incapable of independent thought. If you agree with everything, you stand for nothing. And people don't respect nothing. Disagreement is how we test reality. When you never push back, never offer a different perspective, never stand firm on anything, you signal that you have no internal compass. You become wallpaper, pleasant, inoffensive, completely forgettable. But here's where it gets darker. Think about the person who complains constantly, but never acts. Their relationship is terrible, but they won't leave. Their job is suffocating, but they won't quit. Their body hurts, but they won't see a doctor. They talk about change like other people talk about the weather, just noise filling space, signifying nothing. This is chronic complaining without action, and it destroys respect on a biological level. Psychologist Dr. Guy Winch documented this in his 2013 research, calling it learned helplessness display. When you complain without acting, you're broadcasting incompetence. You're telling everyone around you that you can't solve problems, that you'd rather suffer and talk about suffering than do the uncomfortable work of changing your situation. The listener's brain begins to categorize you as someone who creates problems, not someone who solves them. And here's what nobody tells you. Your friends stop answering your calls. Not because they're cruel, but because their nervous system now associates you with draining, pointless conversations. You've trained them to see you as an energy vampire. You're in a meeting. Someone asks a direct question. Can we get this done by Friday? The person next to you takes a breath and launches into a 5-minute story about their weekend, their current workload, their opinions on project management, before eventually circling back to something resembling an answer. Everyone in that room just lost a piece of respect for them. The inability to be direct might seem like a small thing, but it connects to what neuroscientists call cognitive load. When you force people to work harder to extract simple information from you, their brain experiences it as stress. You're making them do unnecessary work, so their unconscious mind begins avoiding interactions with you to conserve mental energy. Answer the question first, then add context if needed. Yes, I can have that done by Friday. I'll need to push back the other project by a day, but it's manageable. Clear, direct, respectful of their time and mental resources. Picture someone who takes credit for group work. Not obviously, not in ways you could call out directly, but in small ways that accumulate. They say, I organized the event instead of we organized. They post about the project on social media with solo photos and no tags. They describe team victories in first-person singular, letting others assume they did it alone. This one destroys respect permanently, and the damage spreads. A 2017 study from the University of Amsterdam found that credit theft activates the same brain regions as physical betrayal. When someone witnesses you stealing credit, even if they weren't directly affected, their trust in you drops by an average of 40%. Because if you'll steal credit from others, you'll steal it from them. Your integrity is now in question. And here's the part that makes it worse. People talk. The person you stole credit from will tell others. Those others will watch you more carefully. Your reputation shifts from collaborative to self-serving, and once that perception sets in, it's almost impossible to reverse. These aren't just social mistakes, they're evolutionary signals. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans survived by accurately assessing who in their group was trustworthy, competent, dangerous, weak. Your brain is running those assessments constantly, on everyone you interact with. And certain behaviors trigger ancient alarm systems. You know someone who name drops constantly. Every story features someone important they know. Every achievement comes with an attached celebrity or authority figure. They went to dinner, and their friend knows someone who knows someone famous. They worked on a project with someone who used to work with someone notable. They think it makes them look connected, impressive, successful. It has the opposite effect. Dr. Robert Cialdini's research on influence shows that borrowed status signals are perceived as weakness. The brain interprets excessive name-dropping as, this person has no inherent value, so they're trying to borrow it from others. You've signaled that you don't trust your own accomplishments to speak for themselves. Think about the person who interrupts constantly. Not just occasionally cutting in with enthusiasm or an important point, but chronically talking over others, finishing their sentences, redirecting conversations back to themselves before the other person has finished their thought. You might know this person. You might be this person. Harvard research from 2014 found that people who interrupt are rated as less competent and less likable, even when their ideas are objectively good. The act of interrupting overrides the content of what they say, because interrupting sends a clear message. What I have to say is more important than what you have to say. And here's what you don't see happening. You realize you've started unconsciously excluding them from important conversations, not out of spite, out of self-preservation. Talking to them feels like work, like fighting for space to exist. So you stop creating that space. There's someone in your life who treats service workers badly, snaps fingers at waiters, dismisses retail employees with contempt, speaks rudely to customer service representatives. You've noticed, even if you haven't said anything, and something in you has made a judgment about them. This is what psychologists call a character reveal moment. Dr. Betty Uribe's 2016 research found that 89% of people judge someone's true character based on how they treat people who can't benefit them. When you witness someone being rude to a person in a service position, you're not just seeing bad manners, you're seeing who they really are when the social contract doesn't force politeness. And when you witness this behavior, respect doesn't fade, it collapses. Because you now know that if you ever lose your usefulness to them, this is how they'll treat you. But there's an attitude that's even more insidious, precisely because it seems so harmless. Someone asks you a question. You don't know the answer, but instead of admitting it, you make something up. Or you speak confidently about something you barely understand, or you give advice on topics where you have no expertise. You've convinced yourself that admitting ignorance makes you look weak, so you fill the space with false certainty. In 2018, researchers at the University of Waterloo coined the term pseudo-profound bullshit for this behavior. When people detect you're speaking beyond your knowledge, even subconsciously, respect drops immediately. The brain has sophisticated mechanisms for detecting fake confidence, micro-expressions, tonal inconsistencies, vague language patterns. You think you're fooling them. You're not. They know you don't know, and now they also know you're willing to lie about it. And now, we reach the attitude most people don't even realize they have. You're telling a story. Something difficult happened to you. Before you finish, the other person jumps in with their own story. Oh, that's nothing. Let me tell you what happened to me. They've turned your vulnerability into a competition they need to win. Your pain becomes a launching pad for their need to be the center of attention. This behavior has a name in psychology: conversational narcissism. Sociologist Charles Derber studied this in 1979, identifying it as one of the fastest ways to destroy social bonds. When you consistently make conversations about yourself, when you turn every shared moment into an opportunity to redirect focus back to your experiences, people stop sharing real things with you. You become the person people talk to when they want to talk at someone, not with someone. You become a mirror that only reflects them back to themselves, never offering true connection. And the tragedy is that you usually have no idea it's happening. You think you're relating. You think you're building rapport through shared experiences. But what they experience is erasure. Here's the final pattern. Someone makes the same mistakes repeatedly, but never acknowledges them. They create the same problems, miss the same deadlines, hurt people in the same ways, and when confronted, they have explanations, justifications, reasons, but never accountability. The words, "I was wrong," or "that's my fault," or "I need to do better," never pass their lips. Dr. Harriet Lerner's research on apologies shows that people who deflect responsibility trigger a primal distrust response. The brain interprets this as dangerous. If you can't acknowledge your impact, you can't be trusted to change your behavior. And if you can't change your behavior, you're a permanent liability. People start protecting themselves from you. They stop trusting you with anything important. They stop being honest with you because honesty requires vulnerability. And vulnerability requires trust that you'll handle it with care. Your refusal to take accountability has taught them that you won't. So, what do you do with all this? Pick one. Just one of these attitudes. The one that made you uncomfortable when you read it. The one where you recognized yourself. That discomfort is information. That's your starting point. For the next 7 days, catch yourself when that behavior appears. Don't try to fix it yet. Just notice it. Write down when it happens, who you were with, what triggered it, because you can't change a pattern you don't see. And most of these patterns are invisible to us. We've been performing them so long, they feel like personality, not choice. Respect isn't something people give you for being impressive. Respect is what remains when you stop taking it away from yourself with these behaviors. It's not about adding more to who you are. It's about removing the barriers you've built between yourself and genuine connection. 6 months from now, you could be the person whose opinion actually matters in the room, the one people listen to completely before responding, the one they trust with real conversations and real opportunities, the one they call when something important happens because they know you'll show up as someone solid. Or you could still be wondering why people keep talking over you, why opportunities go to others, why respect feels like something other people have that you can't quite access. The gap between those two futures isn't talent or charisma or luck. It's just awareness. Most people never see their own patterns. They wonder why respect feels so hard to earn, never realizing they're giving it away for free every single day. With every unnecessary apology, every stolen credit, every conversation they hijack, every accountability they dodge. Look at that list again. Which one made your stomach tighten? That's the one stealing your respect. Tell me in the comments which attitude you recognized, because the only way to change a pattern is to name it first.